What makes a fantastic therapist?
Oh, that's a very big, long answer.
In
How
25
much
words or
time
less.
you got? Okay, so one of the things that I found for me when I was starting out, because again, as we do, we lack confidence. I decided that I wanted to try and round the picture of the experience that someone has when they come and see me, and so I really focused on the. I come from working in hospitality, so customer service and all that sort of stuff, and so one of the things that I've found really has been a very strong foundation in I believe in my success is customer service. Really focusing on how can I make this experience, bang out of the park for you compared to anyone else. So it comes down to how do I respond to people, if they call me or email me. So making sure that you've got a quick response time in a way that is navigable for you, so that you're not constantly, hanging by the computer and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
You've got to work out what's manageable psychologically for yourself. But how do I address people? How do I navigate those conversations and those emails to provide, as much information as I possibly can in a way that they can understand? So I'm also really big on how we communicate to our clients or potential clients.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, wherever you are in computer land. I am so excited that I've got a very good friend of mine, Shearer, who is an Australian, or from Australia, depending on where you come from. And he has got some long streams in the industry, and I'm going to get his pearls of wisdom for you. So, Jeff, how long have you been in the industry? Tell me a bit about you.
Hey, Paula, g'day. Seeing we're in Australia. Yeah, lovely to talk to you, darling. So I've been in the industry now. This is my 25th year. A deep tissue massage therapist back in 1995. I basically got into the industry because I was, at the time, prior to that, I was overseas. I've been traveling for about 3.5 years, moving around different places, living and working. And I just got to the point where I'd had enough traveling and living out of the bag, and I decided it was maybe time to come home. And so in the process of that, I did this thing that my mum used to always sort of talk about, the idea of ask yourself a question and the first answer that pops into your head, then, engage with that. So I knew that I didn't want to continue doing the work that I'd been doing. I've been working in bars, restaurants, kitchens, been doing landscaping, that sort of stuff. And so I decided that if I'm going to come home, I'll start maybe this is time for me to think about a longer term kind of career. And so I asked myself, what was it that I wanted out of a job? And the first answer that came out was to, basically, it wasn't so much about making a lot of money. It was about creating some kind of impact in the world. So to be able to go home at the end of the day and feel like I'd made some kind of difference in someone's life. I wasn't that keen on selling trinkets and, running my own business in that sort of sense. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I wanted to feel like when I came home at the end of the day, my heart was in what I'd done.
Yep.
And so the next question was, what's going to give me that? And massage popped into my head. So based off the back of those two answers, I came back, signed up for a 12-month massage course at the time, Cert 4, which was, pretty much, I think from memory, the only option back then. Did that, and then went out and started into my practice, which, as we all know, is a little bit of a steep learning curve.
Yes, it is.
Through that, I eventually decided to go on and do Chinese medicine. So I was working as a massage therapist through that degree. And now basically I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner. I rarely do actual massage anymore, but massage was amazing in learning how to navigate the different parts of the body and to palpate effectively, which a lot of Chinese medicine practitioners or acupuncturists don't necessarily learn as well. So for me, it's been a really good journey.
Yeah, so it's a great blend between the two. You know, when you were talking about that, how to make an impact on people's lives, I can just see everybody who's listening and watching this nodding their heads, because it's really the one driver that most people, like, people don't say when they leave school, I want to make a bucket of money, I'm going to do
Yeah.
massage.
Yeah.
We know that's not our driver.
No, but I also think there's a really interesting thing in that is I think at times we become, or perhaps, you know, going into the industry, we're perhaps a little altruistic, and we don't place that value on what we do, and it's very easy for us to say, I'm not going to focus on the money, and I just want to help people. And invariably what tends to happen as people are starting out is they give away free treatments, or they discount or whatever, and this confidence around money really, you know, is lower and lower over time. And so this idea of being able to make a decent income, support yourself, maybe your family, be able to live a reasonable life, or the life that you want to live, is something that seems to be considered sort of counterintuitive to you know, helping people.
Mm.
And one thing I've learned over the years is I can't help people if I can't make a living and I can't support my family, and make an income that I want to be able to make. If you know, if I can't do that, then eventually I'll get to the point where I'll resent the industry, because I'm struggling from week to week, and I certainly went through that for a long period of time. And you just it's very easy to get to a point where you just go, oh, this is too hard, I'm just going to go and do something else. And
Yeah.
that for me really breaks my heart, because if we can just, again, I just want to be really clear, this is not all about money.
Mm.
But if you're not making the income that you need to make to be able to live the life that you want to live, and I'm not saying you necessarily want to be driving around in a Maserati or Lamborghini, and if that's your shit, fine. It's not mine. I'm not interested in it. I want to be able to just, you know, be able to go on a holiday with my partner. I want to be able to, you know, own a house. I want to be able to, you know, pay off my mortgage, those sorts of things. I don't need lots and lots of money. But if I can't achieve those things, then eventually I won't be in the industry for too long. And I certainly did have doubts throughout my career, where I sort of scratched my head and went, I don't know if I can really keep doing this, because this is pretty tough. So the big thing for me was overcoming that sort of relationship around money. And it's not evil. You need to get paid what you're worth. People need to value what you do. If you charge $40 an hour for someone, they will treat it like it's worth $40 an hour. If you charge 120, whatever it is people charge in massage these days, then people start to, you know, respect you as a professional. And the fact that you know, for many practitioners, they've done a considerable amount of education, and they should be paid accordingly.
Exactly. I'm going to unpack this, because the two good points that you made here. One, the first time I saw you was at one of the plenaries for Massage and Myotherapy Australia, where you came in like a white knight shining on a horse. And it was all about business skills and how therapists need to actually have post their, like, when they complete their diploma or Cert 4 or whatever they do, they need to have an understanding of good, sound business skills. And we don't have probably the time in our current academic rigor to add that level that they need in there. So I know that you do a lot on business coaching, or you used to do a bit on business coaching. Is that still happening?
Look, we still run online courses at the moment. I'm taking a year off presenting, and at the moment I still do one-on-one consulting. But for us, we're not taking on any new clients, because we're sort of at a threshold that, you know, I've got to manage my own practice and everything else that goes on. So we're sort of building more online stuff to make it a little bit easier for people to be able to access. And also the benefit of doing more online stuff is you're not paying for the venue, you're not paying accommodation, you're not paying flights. So it means that we can actually make things much more cost effective and accessible for practitioners. And particularly if, you know, as I'm sure you've experienced, as we all have, you know, times in your career when the purse is a little bit tight, it's hard to be able to go out and spend $1,000 on a seminar.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. And you
so be able to access something for a much more sort of reasonable rate.
Yeah.
And sense.
And then that takes it to that second point that I was going to say is about value. And I think that the big thing for me, like there's two big aha moments. One is in the final clinic when you're a supervisor and you watch them go through the aha moment when they suddenly get why they're doing differential diagnosis and what's going on. And they go, oh, so that's the technique I do because I've just learnt this. So they suddenly realize the value of the education. So we have to step that forward to the next point, which is that you have to value you. And when you value you as a practitioner that offers sound, responsible, ethical treatments that actually have good outcomes, then you have to put a feather in your own hat and say, I'm actually pretty damn good. And I don't need to be charging a price that says I'm not good. I should be charging a price that says I have value.
Yeah, look, I think there's a double edge to that in some respects. One of the things that I've discovered for myself is I really try not to get too caught up in the good results. I've just tried to level the field a little bit in the sense of. So first of all, I lack confidence just like anyone else does. Yeah. The only difference between me and other practitioners is I've been doing this for so long now. I've got a weight of experience behind me that shows me that look, I wouldn't still be here if I didn't know something. I think that we also forget that whether you've done 2 years or 3 years or 4 years in education, we forget that. The value in that because it just becomes kind of almost second nature after a while. Forget that the average person doesn't actually understand most of the things that we understand.
Yeah, that's right.
So to be able to put that forward, I think is really important. I've come to the sort of conclusion for myself is that if I get too head up in good results, then my ego starts to kick in and I start to think I'm more than I am. And then when I get perhaps a situation where someone comes in and I have maybe not such good results, my confidence plummets. And so for me, the saying that I have for myself is leave your ego at the door and your self-confidence at home. Because neither of those serve any purpose in the room when you're treating people. I try these days to go in and go, all I can do is what I can do. At the time, I might forget a technique that might have been better to have used or whatever, but at that point in time, I can't do anything better than I can right
now. Yeah. It's interesting, and I'm sure therapists will be able to remember this. I know when I was going through my studies that if we were doing the shoulder complex, and I was still treating it at the same time because I was in the old industry where you could treat it and still complete that was
that's
QAMT. Yeah. And I'd have a raft of people come in with shoulder conditions. So it was like the universe was giving me the thing that I was then studying. And I find that if I'm uncomfortable, like shoulder was never my best area of treatment. I'd always go, oh my God, I'm not really that confident and competent. And then I'd just get a whole pile of shoulders. So I think that you're forced sometimes into going, I have to actually spend that little bit more time reading about tendinopathies, reading about what happens with bursitis, like just put into the research again, do that extra stuff.
So I also think this idea of perfection is quite dangerous. I always sort of, and I talk to clients about this. So as we end up becoming sort of quasi counselors, you have clients that come in that maybe have self-confidence issues or something like that. And the thing that I always, sort of say is perfection's an illusion and a constant. You can't ever reach perfection. There's no point. There's no way you're ever going to be complete.
No.
But at the same time, you cannot be any more perfect than you are right now. And so it's embracing both of those concepts. As I'm working right now, I need to let, again, that ego and any sort of self-confidence issues go. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I can't go out and try and further my education and further my understanding in my industry.
Yeah, I think that's called, like for me, I call that reflective practice. So you complete the day and you kind of go, so what areas did I feel that I just was a little bit weak in my own knowledge base? And then it might be a little bit of a research or a bit of a case study. And then that builds your pool of knowledge. And you're right, you're only as good as you are right now. And as long as your client who comes in comes out feeling like they've had the best that you could offer for the day, then, and most client therapists have this behind the grounds linking, like it's like you're a mother and child, even though, or best mate, even though you're not, because that at that energetic level, there's a connection that you can develop.
Absolutely.
So they know when you're in a good space, or they know when you're thinking about cooking dinner or where you have to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Never where you want to be. So what makes a fantastic therapist?
Oh, that's a very big, long answer.
In 25 words or less.
Okay, so one of the things that I found for me when I was starting out, because again, as we do, we lack confidence. I decided that I wanted to try and round the picture of the experience that someone has when they come and see me, and so I really focused on the. I come from working in hospitality, so customer service and all that sort of stuff, and so one of the things that I've found really has been a very strong foundation in I believe in my success is customer service. Really focusing on how can I make this experience, bang out of the park for you compared to anyone else. So it comes down to how do I respond to people, if they call me or email me. So making sure that you've got a quick response time in a way that is navigable for you, so that you're not constantly, hanging by the computer and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
You've got to work out what's manageable psychologically for yourself. But how do I address people? How do I navigate those conversations and those emails to provide, as much information as I possibly can in a way that they can understand. So I'm also really big on how we communicate to our clients or potential clients. We have a bit of a tendency in the massage industry, myotherapy, bodywork, Chinese medicine, naturopathy, the whole, shall we call, complementary medicine field. We have a bit of I find we've got our heads up our backsides a little bit sometimes, and so we want to be able to explain things to people in ways that we understand. And what we need to understand is that most people don't understand the language that we use. So particularly Chinese medicine, qi and blood, yin and yang, people think you're a weirdo.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really about trying to learn how to communicate without meaning to sound patronizing, the lowest common denominator. And understanding about what it is that we do, what it is that we can treat, how what we do works, what potential outcomes to expect, so what's going to happen when they go home. Are they going to be feeling amazing like they do when they're leaving, or maybe not amazing, or are they going to be feeling the same constantly, or is it going to be a gradual sort of slide back into their symptoms? And so for me, I'm really big on communicating all the way through the treatment, right from when they walk through the door, explaining to them where the bathroom is. Would you like a glass of water? Here's your feedback, your intake form to fill out. It's got two sides on it. So they don't fill out one side and then come out and fill that out. Feel a bit of an idiot. I don't want them to feel like that. I explain to them the process when they first walk into the clinic room. This is your seat, you get the comfortable one. I explain to them as well that at any stage through this process, it's important they understand that they are the boss in here, that I work for them. And at any stage, if they have any questions, if they feel uncomfortable in any way, they're hot, they're cold, they're in pain, I'm doing something that just doesn't feel right to them, that it's important that they let me know. And so I really reiterate that desire for communication from them, because the more that I can get feedback from them, the better treatment I can give them, the better results.
Yeah, and I agree. That is a fantastic therapist. That because anyone can, like so many of us can do the techniques, the treatments, whatever it is, but it's a skill set in itself.
Yeah, I'm also really big on presentation. So my clinic space is Mickey Mouse. I dress well when I go to work. I've got a collared shirt, long pants. I mean, I understand for massage therapists or body workers or my therapist, maybe a bit more of a, shorter sleeve and that sort of stuff, and mobility is good, that's fine. But I make sure that, all of the aspects of the presentation of the clinic are really Mickey Mouse. And I also make sure that I have really good technological systems, because these days people expect that. I've got an online booking system. I've got a good website. It's easy to navigate. I've got high caps. I've got FPOS. Booking system sends out confirmation emails. So all of those things are covered. And one of the things that I find time and time again is clients will come in and they go, wow, you've really got it together. So much more than the last practitioner I was going to when I was living in Melbourne or something like that. And so if we can offer that level of professionalism and service, so again, going back to my original sort of point of lack of confidence, then they all of a sudden start to express a confidence and a trust in us. And that builds your confidence and sense of trust in yourself.
Yeah, I agree that there's absolutely fantastic points in there, because it's not about what we learn, it's about the systems that we can put in place, and that makes a huge difference. So I remember at the first or second plenary, I'm not sure, but you were talking about social media. I was like, my comment was, Facebook is a dirty word, is it? And how much time is too much time on social media? Because, I mean, right now we're living the social media dream with TikTok and everything else that's out there.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I go against the grain with a lot of, say, marketing professionals on how to use social media effectively for you. So there's, this concept of best practice and always being available and always being able to, respond quickly to things and that sort of stuff. And look, I think there's merit in that argument, but particularly if you're a sole operator, it's not easy to be able to do that in such a way that you don't lose your mind. And so for me, I've developed a strategy for myself in which there's a line that I will not step over with regards to the amount of engagement that I have with social media. So for me, I post basically every day to Facebook. I've got an Instagram account, but I'm really not that interested in Instagram. It's a lot more of a pain to be able to schedule posts and things like that. Yeah, I'm really big on being able to schedule. So I normally I use a mob called Social Pilot. I've got no affiliation with them, by the way. And I can essentially post, just gone blank. Can you hear me?
Yep. I've got you.
I essentially will post, has my camera gone?
No, I've got you here. You're fine.
Okay.
You're just frozen.
So my basically Social Pilot allows me to, I think it's like $120 US a year or something like that. Allows me to post indefinite amounts of posts on various social media platforms. So I particularly focus on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Facebook being the big one in the house, that's probably my main focus. But the benefit of using a scheduling platform is you can post to multiple platforms at the same time. So you don't have to post 3 times when you can post once.
Yeah.
I then basically post a month's worth of content. So essentially 30 posts, and then I repeat that over 6 months. The reason being is the average person who perhaps likes your page or engages with you only sees 10% of what you post. And so if you repeat your post, then you're more likely to get better traction.
Okay.
The posts that we use are essentially, most of them are articles that we've written for the website. So we're sort of, using that information more effectively. I only go on Facebook probably once, maybe twice a day, and just check and see if there's anything I need to respond to. I absolutely have taken social media off my phone because I found that when it was on my phone, I just kept checking it all the time, and that raised my anxiety. Not good for my mental health, not good for my capacity to be able to help my clients. So as a result, I've taken that off. Now, some people might say that that's, not a good business strategy. I don't care. It's a good strategy for me.
And it's like sugar. There's sugar and dopamine, and they're both tick that box of that instant gratification, and that's what flicking straight in. Well, hopefully you're coming back. Oh no, there you are. Hello.
Yeah, I'll just keep the camera on.
Yeah, good. So can you? Excellent. No, I agree. That's all. And this, you and I having a chat about all this stuff is all supposed to be proactively how therapists can work effectively. And I think these bad boys should be off more than on. So.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we wrote an article on the ethical practice side about it ages ago about what the statistics are on, sleep deprivation and all these sorts of things. And so we also have a rule in our house that no social media after 7, no emails after 7. That's it. If we use a device, it's to watch a movie or something like that. And that's kind of it.
That's amazing.
Because we, both. I think when you, how do I put it? I think when you're really driven, it's really easy to get sucked into the vortex. And so for us, we've had to create strategies that we're really clear on, my partner and I, that we're really clear on, and we back each other up. It's like, hang on, it's 7 o'clock, turn it off.
Yeah.
So that we're not just on the computer all the time. It's like, I mean, I'm a hands-on therapist in my trade. I really don't want to be spending ages and ages on the computer. And I understand a lot of practitioners in the same boat. So for me, it's about essentially, main points, have a really good scheduling software. And I've looked at a lot. There's a lot of different ones. I find Social Pilot is really easy to navigate and simple. And have a line on how frequently you actually check social media. So I've got a reminder on my phone, basically says, say 10 o'clock, check Facebook, I check it. I might be on there for 15, 20 minutes, and then I'm off.
Yeah.
I disconnect it, and then I get on with my day.
Yeah, no, that's great call. So what would this Jeff tell the young Jeff if he had a chance to give him a couple of key points starting in the industry?
Listen more. I'm pretty stubborn, so I like to do things my own way, and I've had some very good advice over the years, very good guidance over the years that I've chosen not to take, and then 5-10 years later I've ended up doing that anyway, and thought, oh man, not wasted, but I spent all this time learning this stuff. I think also, the confidence one is a really big one, and look, I'm 49 this year. I've now got to a point where I don't worry as much about making mistakes. I don't worry as much about, what people think of me. And I think that particularly on social media and the forums, there can be some pretty bad behavior, which I think is really unfortunate. And I think I've certainly got caught up in some pretty nasty stuff. Being trolled by a whole bunch of people for a whole bunch of different reasons. People in the industry, which is
I'm hearing you.
What I've really learned through that process is I really don't give a toss what someone else thinks of me. I've got an idea of the way I believe a practice should be run. It's only my idea. I'm more than happy to share what that is. If someone doesn't agree with me, I don't care. If they want to carry on an argument about it, I just disengage and get on with what I'm doing. I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
I've got a successful practice. I work essentially 3 days a week. I've got a pretty good life. I've worked really hard for it, but anyone that wants to have a crack at me these days, I just kind of go, whatever.
Yeah, I do know the feeling. There's a few of us out there that have been trolled in our times.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing with trolling, or where you feel uncomfortable in an uncomfortable space in social media. That's when you somebody had put a post yesterday saying that the post was something about I've had enough, or and I just private messaged to them and said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah,
because it's mental health. It's men's mental health right now as well. So if you do see that kind of stuff out there, people who are watching and listening to this, and the person, sometimes it's just worthy to come in there and say, look, I've got your back. If you just want someone to talk to, or just to spray a few of the naughty words that we don't say out in public. If you just want to dump it, then you have a safe space to dump. So just recognise that you can help your mates out there.
Absolutely, and look, times when I've been copping a heap of flack, the amount of people that I don't, I've never even met before, that have, contacted me in some way, shape, or form and said, just checking you're okay, don't take it personally. It's, it is really bad behaviour, because the problem with social media is you do start to kind of question yourself, and that's essentially gaslighting. When someone starts messing with your head, that's gaslighting. And so I really urge any practitioner that finds themselves in that situation, just disengage with the person. I've blocked people because I'm just not interested in having the conversation anymore. Or alternatively, I've said to people, look, I'm more than happy to continue this conversation, but if you continue in the vein that you're taking, I'm just not going to respond to anything else you say. And essentially, what you do is you watch that person hang themselves and show themselves up for who they are.
I agree. I'm not sure if we've got echo of me right now. No, it's all good.
I don't know.
Thank God, which means that everybody else isn't. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. I just think that they're such excellent points, and that there are so many therapists that will be listening and watching this that will go, oh, that's a great idea. So tell me, if they want to find out about some of the courses, is it ethicalpractice.com?
.net.
.net.
Ethicalpractice.net, yeah. We've got also a lot of just essentially, the big thing for me about ethical practice is I really wanted to just create, a lot of resources that people can access. There's heaps of articles on different topics, and things like confidence, social media, and that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of resources on the site that you don't necessarily have to buy anything to be able to sort of engage with it, which is what I really wanted. Yeah. We've got a couple of courses up at the moment, a couple of ebooks, that sort of stuff. So yeah, ethicalpractice.net.
Right, excellent. Well, Jeff, for those people who don't know, Jeff Shearer, I'll be posting down in the comments content down here at 4 minutes 20. You get this information, blah, blah, blah. So you can scroll fast if you're that type of person, or sit down with a coffee or a chai latte and enjoy the experience. Jeff, thank you so much. It's been absolutely awesome.
Thanks, Paula. Always great catching up.
All right. Cheers, buddy.
Have a good day.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. What you could do is you could hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. When you're ready to take the next step, why don't you click the link below and get into more information about my mentorship program, and I'll see you on the other side.